And the other thing, I don't think they can bring it up to earthquake code either.
And there's no parking, and so they tried to use it.
Will that guitar take
That's a bad area
Well,
too.
I don't know.
metal bar?
Yeah, well, you could play it with a slide
I'll tell
guitar.
you,
You
they've got a
could
lot of nice stuff.
alternate slide, or if
And
you
South
laid
West
it down and
Museum
raised the
has some-
strings, you could
And
play.
one thing about their
Hawaiian
stuff,
guitar.
most of their stuff is real and good. What they have
I
is
think that
real.
would be pretty, a pretty tone.
Yeah.
I think they've been trouble maintaining it, you know, and keeping it.
Well, they can't get the public to go in there. You can't park your car. And I think they've been told they have a certain time period where they have to bring it up to earthquake code.
You used to go up in an elevator.
Yeah, yeah,
All the way up to the top.
Southwest Museum.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they can't bring the buildings up to earthquake code. So I think they only got about a year or two and they're gonna shut them down anyway.
I used to go there 35 years ago, yeah.
They did put some parking up on top.
Years ago, a fellow named Blair Van Orden used to be their curator. I think he's in Arizona. I don't know who's running it now. That's one thing he said everything we got is right and real. And when I went through there, I didn't find nothing in there that wasn't right and real. Everything they had was exactly what they said it was.
Oh, man, Lummis, Charles Lummis, seems to be the founder of his house is down in the Arroyo. That's also a Main Street.
That Southwest Museum has been there, I think, about 80 to 100 years now.
That's Charles Lummis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was instrumental in founding it.
But they've got a lot of great Indian stuff.
That's what they're noted for.
And it's all real. Everything they have is real. They used to have a lot of guns once upon a time. And all their guns were real. Everything they had was real. And if they had a little sign there saying what it was, that's what it really was.
Is there a guitar museum, Don?
Hmm?
Is there a guitar museum somewhere?
Oh, yeah, there's several. You know, there's the Country and Western Music Hall of Fame in Nashville. There's
What was that one that Dobro's?
the Erie, Pennsylvania Museum. That was a traveling exhibit for 2 years.
Not a permanent exhibit.
Not a permanent exhibit, but that went all over the United States and Europe. And it was all Reso-Phonic instruments. John Dopier Jr. was behind that.
He was helped put it
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
Consultant.
and we helped him with it. We had a couple of our guitars in that.
Is he a professor somewhere or?
He's a professor, retired, and, you know, after he retired, he realized what his father's contribution, his father's and his uncle's contribution to the
But
American,
who was his father?
John Dopier
John,
Sr., yeah, who,
John's son.
who invented the resonator guitar. And so he was, you know, he's kind of slowed down now, but in the last 10 years, after he retired, spent so much energy, you know, at the Trovador festival in Slovakia, where the Dopieras were, you know,
Was he
lived.
there when you were there?
Yeah, he was.
Uh-huh.
And but when I first met him, in 1971, when I was working at Dobro, see, he was a counselor that came to Pacific Oaks and was, you know, doing, you know, interpersonal, you know,
Was he a psychologist?
psychology at the university at the Pacific Oaks. And he came down to Dobro and he goes, "Do you know Leslie Prescott?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. She's my girlfriend." He says, "Well, I've been working with her mother, Professor Elizabeth Prescott, and Professor Betty Jones, and doing this." And he was there at Dobro. And he says, "You know, I remember the factory in the 30s when I was a little boy. But he never knew anything about guitars, and he was asking me, how do these things work?" And here his father's walking around, and uncles, all these old Slovaks, and you know. And I said, "Well, that's mechanical amplification. It works like
Was
this."
that when John was visiting?
When John was visiting.
Oh.
And then they all got in a big fight, the brothers and Gabe, their sister, and they started yelling and screaming at each other in English, and all of a sudden it went into Slovak, because they didn't want anybody to hear what they're talking about. They're arguing about guitars and production stuff, and it just went on and on and on, and then they all went into the office and slammed the door, and it went on for another hour, and they're all speaking in Slovak. And the Mexicans are all kind of going, you know, couldn't. And then pretty soon you smell some food cooking, and then the fight was over, and they were all upstairs cooking some kind of halushki or something, the Slovak national dish, you know.
Did Gabe die finally?
Gabe died, I was just talking to Bertha Swatzell, who was a good friend of hers, and Gabe died in 2003.
How old was she?
Well, she was born in 1902.
101.
So they were all long livers.
She
God
was
bless
the
her.
last, though, right?
She, what?
She was the last of that.
Yeah, oh, God bless her. She was an amazing woman. Amazing woman.
She kept that place alive, too.
Gabrielle is, to me, you know, these guys that are writing histories and stuff, and I say, look at Gabriela Dopiera Lazar. She's the one that rescued it in the 50s and bankrolled it, and that's why we have Reso-Phonic guitars today.
Yeah.
Her.
I had a friend that tried to buy the company. I was working with Don to have a job. And I think Jim would have bought that.
Yeah,
He came out and said,
No, he
yes,
was-
what's her name, Bonnie, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
They were-
She was great.
they were savvy people. Yeah. Anyway, it worked, you know, she sold it to Chet Lezak, and that's how it worked out, and that prompted us to move on and do the national thing, so. Anyway, so be it. Anyway, I'm very proud of this guitar. People are loving these